Don't just be another foreigner, be a local Laowai.
Welcome back to Local Laowai, the show that gives you everything you need to know for a smooth transition to life in China. I'm Donny Newman. Last time, we learned that Western theater is alive and kicking here in China. But for those yearning for the most authentic of Chinese performance experiences, what you really want to see is Beijing Opera. And if it's Beijing Opera you're after, there's arguably no better place to be than right here at the world-famous Laoshe Teahouse in central Beijing. So without further ado, let's get started. Beijing Opera is widely considered by Chinese to be a cultural national treasure, representing the very top echelon of performance art here in China. It stems from a long tradition of opera here in China that goes back for centuries. Beijing Opera fully developed into prominence in the mid-19th century, when the Qing Dynasty royal court adopted it as its preferred form of entertainment. Later on, in the 1960s, when the Cultural Revolution swept through China, Beijing Opera's affiliation with the Qing Dynasty court and nobility became a liability. It was labeled a bourgeois art form, and performances were strictly controlled by the authorities. In the 1980s, these restrictions were dropped, and China today boasts numerous professional Beijing Opera companies. As a cultural tradition, it's still considered the quintessential Chinese performance art, and it's displayed prominently on promotional materials promoting Chinese culture both at home and abroad. To this day, Beijing Opera enjoys its own dedicated TV channel that broadcasts performances and related content 24 hours a day. But just what is going on stage during a performance? We'll break it all down for you coming up next, right here where the performances happen. In Beijing Opera, the performers are very much the center of attention. Beijing Opera characters, by and large, can be divided into four basic archetypes: the Sheng, the Dan, the Jing, and the Chou.
The Sheng is the main male character, and the Dan are the main females. The main plot lines will always revolve around them. Next, we have the Jing characters, who support the main characters and do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of singing and fight scenes.
Last but not least, we have the Chou, who connects the different acts of the play together through monologues and acrobatic performance.
You can usually spot a Chou actor by the characteristic circle of white face paint on the middle of the face. Each and every movement of a Beijing Opera performer is strictly choreographed, and an actor's skill is judged by how precise and therefore how beautiful his movements can be.
Singing is the other great indicator of a Chinese opera performer's skill. They retain amazing range, and they can overpower an entire ensemble of traditional Chinese instruments with just their voice. As you may be able to guess, becoming a Beijing Opera performer takes a lifetime of dedication. So to find out firsthand, let's go backstage and meet some now. So what would you say is the difference between a Western audience and a homegrown Chinese audience?
Most foreigners aren't very familiar with Beijing Opera. Often, interest begins with the costumes, makeup, and props. For example, each character type has its own costumes.
How old were you when you started studying Beijing Opera?
There's an old Chinese saying, 1 minute on stage requires 10 years of preparation. I went to opera school for 6 years, then 4 years of college, and I've been working in this opera company for 7 years.
And that includes doing your own makeup, right? So how long does it take to go through all of the makeup for a performance?
Today I'm playing the role of concubine in the opera Farewell My Concubine. It takes about an hour to apply the makeup for this role. After makeup, you need about 40 more minutes to put on the wig and accessory. Male characters don't have to worry about this though. Actors usually do makeup themselves, and accessories are applied by specialized staff members.
Alright, let me tell you, those moves are even harder than they look. I think I'm gonna leave the opera up to the professionals. But luckily for us, you don't have to be a professional in order to enjoy the show. Speaking of which, that's what I'm going to do right now. So until next time, bye!
Tune in next time when we take you through the world of modern music here in China. In the meantime, be sure to keep sending in your questions at locallawai@bon.tv. I'm Donny Newman, and we'll see you next time.